I thought long and hard, why is it that people hate the Naughty Dog so much? Because there have been a lot of other progressive games, but none really has managed to gather the hatred of the internet like the Naughty Dog. And I think it has to do a little bit with the hypocrisy. I think it has to do a little bit with the disdain that the CEO has for gamers. But let's go through them step by step. So the first one is the hypocrisy. You have one of the most talented women in video game industry, Mrs. Hennings, and she has created some games that have marked all of our childhoods, like Legacy of Kain, The Last of Us Part 1, the Uncharted series. And then you have like this male feminist filled with soy who backstabs her, gets her thrown out of the company, and then claims he's an ally of women, and he claims that he wants more women in video games industry, and is like an Anita Sarkeesian fanboy, and then takes the intellectual property from Mrs. Hennings and twists it into this Frankenstein monstrosity that's an insult to anything that Hennings actually created. It is just surreal. And he has also a disdain for gamers. Pretty much like almost all progressive do. And it's like putting a person that hates drunk people in charge of a beer company. It's like putting a woman of tolerance as the CEO of Budweiser. It is a recipe for failure. And this is where we're at, you know, and all of the social justice and the good righteous people on the right side of history in that company seems to create such a toxic work environment that the turnover for developers is 70%. Like, let me just put it into picture for you guys. The worst industry with the biggest turnover seems to be the service industry. And that has a turnover of 40%. Like, there are more developers at Naughty Dog quitting their job than there are waiters getting fed up with it. It's ridiculous. And it just keeps on going and going. Like, the story they made for the game is pure spite for the gamers. It is just poison, just progressive poison. They knew they are going to piss people off, but they were hoping at least that first they can take your money before you get pissed off. So they were hoping that they would reach for your wallet before you get annoyed. And because of the leaks, now they're worried people are going to buy it because people are just giving their pre-orders back and people are making fun of their progressive ideology. Like, you need to understand, for people like this, these aren't even progressives at this point. They're absolute cultists. You know, like, you have the type of normal Christians that just, you know, believe and mind their own business. And then you have like that uncle that keeps giving you Bible quotes and judges you. And, you know, like, he goes on the corner of a street and starts preaching the message of the Lord. And unless you are 100% like him, you cannot get along with him. Okay? This is like how the people at Naughty Dog are. Like, they are the extremists when it comes to progressive ideology. But they don't have a book like the Bible. They don't have something like a specific literature for their ideology. So what they do is they take video games or movies and they try to use those as sort of the progressive gospel. And when you insult that game or you insult that movie, it's like insulting the gospel of Luke. They can't have it. They get really angry. They get really annoyed and infuriated, which is why they're really angry and annoyed and infuriated, because people are mocking their games with memes, with all sort of comedy and mockery, and they have to DMCA that off the internet. And it's ridiculous. They went DMCA crazy and they DMCA'd themselves. You cannot make this up. Sony DMCA'd themselves. This is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, I never thought I am going to live through this. Like, I never thought in my life I will see something so stupid as Sony, a company, DMCAing itself because it's so upset that people are mocking and making fun of their product. And by the way, just so we're clear, all of these DMCAs, they have no legal backing. It doesn't matter if it's a company quote-unquote secret, if the movie isn't released yet, if the game is still in production or whatever. It really doesn't matter. That is not what the DMCA is for. If someone wants to spoil a movie or spoil the story of a video game or even show pictures, even show footage, it is still fair use. It is absolutely fair use. You can sue the guy that signed a non-disclosure agreement and released that to the internet, and you can sue that person for damage. But you can't sue a member of the press like Ian Miles Chungus, for example, for talking about the leaks. He got DMCA'd from Twitter for talking about a journalist got DMCA'd from Twitter from talking about the leaks. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. No, they don't have legal basis, and that's why they're using shell companies in order to do it. Because like they know that if Sony would do this to people, like people have such a hate boner right now for the Naughty Dog that I'm legitimately surprised you don't have a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe for someone to actually sue these companies. The only thing is that they know that because they're a shell company, like if you try to sue one, they would just go bankrupt overnight and then poof, disappear. That's why Sony isn't the ones that are actually doing this, and this is why it actually ends up for Sony getting DMCA'd by one of the companies that Sony hired. It's ridiculous. Anyway, how many times did I say ridiculous, huh? It's difficult for my Romanian brain to comprehend such levels of stupidity, believe it or not. It's just... like, how detached must you be from the community? How detached must you be from the actual client? From the person you're begging some money for your hard work? Just how detached? And that's not all, okay? Now there's another news. This is even more interesting. So, if you look at their game, which is a zombie game, right? It's an apocalypse game, and they never talk about the zombie. Now, the Shilling Press talked about the fact that you have a crouch button in the game. It's quite revolutionary, believe it or not. I made a video about it. I'm not even joking. Like, there's an article that tries to hype up the game and promote features from the game, and they're talking about the fact that you can crouch in it. Like, you have a crouch button. Can you believe it? I didn't believe it at first. I had to read the article twice. So, apparently... they don't talk about the zombies at all. What they do talk about is the enemies. And apparently, like, the enemies are Christians. Christians. You have Christians as enemies in a game in 2020. Wow, that is so stunning and brave. Ooh la la. I am just utterly shocked. Like, the courage required to make a game like that in 2020. I wonder how they're going to face against the criticism from the Catholic Church. Because I expect the Pope is going to step up any day and start condemning the Naughty Dog and their vile game by giving a bad name to Christians everywhere. Are you saying that all Christians are against the LGBT? Are you saying that all Christians are like that? Huh? Yeah, quite funny. The reason I find it absolutely hilarious is that this is a game that's going to be sold only in Christian countries. Because believe it or not, Muslim countries aren't going to have any of that shit. Now, it's unclear why Muslim countries don't want to have the Last of Us 2 being sold in their countries. It might be because of nudity, or it might be because of the gay agenda, or whatever they say it. But suffice to say, like, Saudi Arabia is not going to have any of it. So they actually managed to get the game banned. You know, like, again, it's really funny. Like, Christian countries really don't have any problem with this game. It's like they're not going to ban it. Like, you know, there will be people that will be like, well, I personally am going to buy it. Alright? And you're going to have a hard sell to explain why that person is evil for not giving you their $60 in order to purchase a game. But meanwhile, you have Muslim nations. Like, nations that have the official religion in their country to be Islam. And they're like, no, we're not going to have this game. But yes, you know, like, please do put Christians as the bad guys in your video games. Yes, absolutely. I mean, personally, I wouldn't have religion in a zombie survival game to begin with. Or maybe if I would, like, I would create, like, some cult that has, like, no equivalent with real life in order to, you know, like, avoid controversy, I guess, so that most people buy it. But no, like, you go on and antagonize people. Like, I'm legitimately curious if there is a single group on Earth that they haven't managed to antagonize yet. And believe it or not, even the progressives don't like this game. Like, I even saw, like, LGBT people like, oh, you shouldn't sexualize LGBT characters in your video game because they didn't like the kiss and whatnot. Like, they managed to piss off everyone. At this point, like, I'm legitimately curious who's the next group that they're going to piss off. Because right now, they pissed off the Muslims. No, but seriously, all jokes aside, let's assume that this game would be banned in a European country, like France or Germany or whatever. Now, I know, legally speaking, it can't be done, but let's assume for the sake of the argument that there would be a way where this game would be just completely banned in France. You can't purchase it. Oh my god, the journalists would go livid. Like the journalists, the Potakus and the Polygons and all of these, they would go absolutely bonkers. They would be like, oh, how dare you? How dare you do this? It's like, you bigots, you far-right, fascists, Nazis. Okay, why aren't they doing this with Saudi Arabia, though? Isn't that interesting? Like, why is it that they never call Islam conservative? Why is it that they never call Islam far right? Why is it they never call it fascist? Because if any other group or organization would be against the LGBT, they would speak out. Maybe I'm wrong though, because they probably do not speak out against the Chinese Communist Party when they're oppressing Muslims. But no, it seems like it's only the West. It's like, you know, that little kid at school that always get picked on by the teacher. Like everyone sticks gum under their desk, but the moment Billy even chews gum, the teacher goes like, well, why are you doing this, Billy? What's wrong with you? Billy, why can't you be normal? You know, and Billy looks around him and literally everyone is not only chewing gum, but they're also sticking it under the desk or whatnot. Yeah, that little Billy is like Western countries nowadays, and the teacher is the video games journalist. That's about all. Peace out.